Okay, so here's the summary. Today, I have another Bayonetta 3 Weapon and Demon Guide, and it is going to be on Dead End Express and War Train Gauon. So, the first thing you'll notice about this weapon is that it's another one of those heavy weapons. So, it's just kind of. It definitely feels sluggish at times. The basic punch string definitely has that sort of sluggish feel to it. So, it's not exactly very practical. Well, it is practical if you're in the right, you know, if you're in the right situation, but there's not really a lot of situations that have that opportunity. And for kick, you ride it around, and it definitely has a lot of movement. So this is probably one of like the most moving, you know, strings in the game. Because that, let's see here. From here, that I went from there to there. So that's a lot of range. So it can be used as an approach tool. The main gimmick with this weapon is that when you charge up punches and kicks, you can increase the power of said attacks. And also, a fun little fact is that when you're charging them up, the animation in which you're charging up your weapon also has a hitbox. So if you can, you can incorporate that into your combos. Just a neat little something to keep in mind. Let's see. As for combos, this weapon doesn't really have a whole lot of combos. It's kind of slow. Like, its longest combo is the triple punch to triple kick attack. And as for the punch to 3 kicks, that one actually does have a lot of good AoE. So use this one especially when you're up against a bunch of smaller enemies, because it will hit a ton of times. Then as for other combos, punch, 1 punch to 2 kicks will give you a wink slave attack. So this is a really good, like, smaller attack that's like that just is very good in a lot of situations. Then for punch, kick, punch, also a good attack. So basically what I'm trying to say is that Dead End Express is one of those weapons that is slow but also fast. So you can make it fast if you want to, but there's a lot of parts of it that do feel sluggish, so that's kind of hard to, comprehend at times. And then for special attacks, forward punch, you lunge forward and do 1 big swing, which is a good approach tool. And it can be powered up by holding down the attack button. Then for forward kick, this attack is very unique because you ride your weapon around like an actual train car. And the truth about it is that there's not really the only use I see for that sort of attack is movement. Because it does move pretty fast, so it's a good movement option, and it does have a hitbox, but it's not really a combo tool, per se. It's more of just a utility option. Then for back punch, you know, swing upwards, can be powered up. And then for back kick, you do that and you sort of go up into the air. And then for charging it up, you can change its aim. So if you wanted to, you can like hit enemies to your side, or you can just do it regular. And the charging itself actually does actually have some time to it, because if you charge for too long, you'll get a burnout, which can actually, you know, halt combos. Then for back to forward punch, I said back to forward punch. Just a simple, you know, AoE saw swing. Just as a good like burst option, like a good get off me tool. Then for back to forward kick, you go forward and you slice, which looks a lot like the dash attack that you do with Demon Masquerade. So this attack is like is also a really good burst option and should be used a lot, especially against singular targets or against giant enemies, as it does a whole lot of damage. This weapon feels more or less of like a giant enemy weapon because of how large the weapon is and how many hitboxes you can pull out. But then for the Witch Twist, you'll do that, and this actually has some, actually is a multi-hit, so it can be a good one for combos. So if like you wanted to, you can like do that at, oh, and speaking of which, here's the afterburner kick, which is kind of like similar to this, but it's more faster and goes into the air. So this is more like of a grounded tool, and this is more of an aerial tool. Then for, yeah, so you can do some good stuff with this weapon. Then for gun, you shoot out a gear, and this will hit multiple times on an enemy. And then for its charged up variant, it just becomes bigger. And of course, the weapon also has an additional hitbox while charging up. Then for circle gun, you will shoot a gear around, which is a good like crowd control move, since it does cover a wide area. Then for circle punch, you'll swing your weapon around, and the cool thing about this move is that you can swing it around indefinitely until you start burning out. So this is a really good, just in general, AoE attack, because it's just really, really good. And you can also control it, so if you wanted to, you can hold it out and then just spin around. And then for circle kick, you figure 8. So if I do it right here and hold it, you will do a figure 8, and it hits and it goes around 3 times. So this is a really good move, just as like invincibility wise, because one, tapping the button you'll go around once, but holding it you'll go around 3 times. And if you let go at any point after the first rotation, it'll just stop. So it can be canceled out into something else. So if I like did something like that, or just, whoops. So if I did like circle, let's see, circle kick into back to forward kick, that can be a good extender for Demon Masquerade. So yeah, large weapon, really good hitboxes, kind of slow, but worth it if you can get your timings right. And then we have War Train Gauon. So War Train Gauon is a very different type of demon. Unlike the other demons that can move around freely, this demon can only move with the track you give it. So you kind of have to be wary of how you draw the track for it in order to get the most out of your moves. So let's see here. Regular, let's see here, if I go in a circle to represent basic punch, you know, the demon head will come out. So burst option, standard damage, all that good stuff. Then for kick, you will rush forward, and if I'm not mistaken, let's see. I think this move will freeze enemies, so it can be a good option for, you know, stalling. And you can stack these attacks indefinitely, which is one of the main perks about this weapon, because you can essentially set down a track and then do a bunch of signals at the same time to really wreak havoc. Let's see. Circle punch, you will go in a figure 8. Really good AoE tool. Then, yeah, so good AoE tool for a lot of situations, especially against giant enemies. And then back to forward punch, you will do a loop-de-loop. So that can be good for one for flying enemies, because it does reach pretty high. So that's a good one. And then circle kick will summon out demons that will fight alongside you. No, I think that was back to forward kick. Let's see. So circle kick, you will do a bunch of saw moves, and that's actually one of its best attacks, because those saws will linger for a bit, but in that moment they're really strong. So it's a good one against giant enemies, because there's 6 hitboxes that swing around. And as you saw before, you'll back to forward kick will summon out some demons, and if there are enemies nearby, they will attack. So the only thing I see about this is some kind of like utility use, because it's kind of more or less of just like an extra unit going. So it can be used as like taking care of smaller enemies when there's a big enemy in front of you. Then for gun, you will shoot out some shots from you'll shoot out some bullets from your cannons. So very standard bullets, nothing to, talk about. Very basic attack. Come on, why is it? Come on. Let's see. Okay, what is going on? Okay, that was weird. For some reason it wasn't activating. So, circle gun. No, that was the wrong one. Let's see. Okay, so circle gun, you will shoot out a bunch of bullets in front, and this is actually a really good move for singular targets as it does a ton of damage. So it can be a really good tool for just singular targets or singular really big targets, but not so much for, smaller 1v1s. As it does have that element of being in front. And then back to forward gun, you will shoot off a rock into the sky and it will fall down. This is probably one of the most, I think, hardest moves to land, because the attack is random. So I think because I'm not targeting any enemies right now, that the attack is random, but if I was targeting an enemy, it would probably be constant. At least I think. That makes the most sense to me. And then for special, it's called the Rage Whistle. So, I think the reason why it's called the Rage Whistle is mostly because of the fact that it will just build up your Demon Rampage, and the Demon Rampage for Train Gauon is probably one of the best AoE area tools in the entire game, and I've seen a lot of people use it, especially in Witch Trial 3, because it just demolishes everything, and all you gotta do is just dodge. But I think it's one of those trade-offs where you use it and then you have to wait for Train Gauon to come back. So yeah, all in all, not a bad weapon and not a bad demon, but there's just definitely a learning curve to it. Anyways, if I missed any important tips or tricks, comment down below, and I'll see you all next time. Later!